Managing user permissions in Drupal is a two-step process. In the last video, we went through the first step by giving the users roles. Now we'll perform the second step, which is granting permissions to the role we created. First, let's just review what we have. We go up to People, and we see everybody who's an authenticated user on the site. In the last video, we gave Pollyann Saturated this role, Content Manager. I'm going to go over to my other browser and log in as her. Username is Pollyann Saturated, and the password, as for all users in this course, is Drupal, all lowercase. And log in. We can see right away that there are different permissions between Polly and the administrator by just looking at the front page. So let's go there as the administrator. First, we have this feed over here, which we added several videos ago. We don't see that as Polly. That suggests that actually she doesn't have permission to see it. There's no toolbar up here as there is for the administrator. And if you look in the navigation area, there are far more choices over here, most of them again relating to feeds, but still quite a bit more available to the administrator. So let's go in and add some permissions to that role. We go up and click People, and then Permissions. Now I know you've seen the screen dozens of times throughout this course so far, so I'm not going to simply say, oh, to add permissions you click the box and then save them and you're done, because you already know that. I'm going to go into some detail as to what exactly these permissions are and how they separate from each other. On the other hand, there are dozens and dozens and dozens of them, so I won't have time to go into all of them, just some of the more important ones for, in this case, a content manager. I'll also talk about how each role interacts with the authenticated user and the anonymous user. So let's go down. The aggregator is something that brings together news feeds. I think that's something I would want to give to a content manager. I'll let that person administer news feeds and view news feeds. But again, we want to make sure that everybody can view those news feeds, so I click Authenticated User as well. Now you'll notice when I do that, it grays out these boxes. That's because by definition, everybody who's not an anonymous user is an authenticated user, including any other roles. So it wouldn't make sense to say that authenticated users can do something but the content manager can't, because the content manager is an authenticated user. And incidentally, if you have a complicated series of check marks over here and you add this, it remembers what they are when you uncheck it again, which I think is very clever. We'll let everybody see the news feeds. Going down, I think I'll give the content manager ability to do things with comments, administer them, delete them, and so on, and also edit her own comments. The most important part for somebody handling content, however, is found in this large node group. Every content type has multiple listings for permissions in this node group. We'll scroll past the first group here, which I'll come back to in a minute, and we see blog entry, create new content, edit own content, edit any content, 5 different selections. Same is true for poll, forum topic, and so forth. I'm going to give all of those to the content manager. That person can create content, edit it, delete it, anything he or she wants. And so that we don't waste your time, I'll just fast forward to the end of this process. There, I just gave the content manager permission to change nodes of every content type. I'll just look through here again and see, are there things that I want authenticated users to be able to do? Well, view published content, obviously everyone should be able to do. I do want to point out one up here. It gives a warning, and you'll see this several times throughout the permissions screen. Give to trusted roles only. This permission has security implications. This warning is generally put on those permissions that, if granted, would allow somebody to basically take over the site. So be especially careful before giving those away. Continuing to scroll down, let's see what else we might want to give to the content manager. Access the administrative overlay, sure, since they're an administrator. Administer URL aliases, sure, since that has to do with content. Don't think I'll let them change polls. But then this search area, this is very interesting. We haven't even noticed that although we have a search box on our site, nobody's been able to use it up until now. So I'm going to say yes, we want everybody to be able to use search. Scrolling down a little bit further, we might want to give the content manager access to taxonomy, although actually I'll leave that alone as it is. We do want to give access to the toolbar usually to anyone who's doing administration, because it gives them easy access to the commands that they need. But don't worry, it won't show any commands that they don't have access to reach, as you'll see in a minute. Scrolling down further, and I think we're done. Click Save Permissions. So now we've done 3 things. We've set up that content manager role, we've granted it to our user Pollyann Saturated, And we've given it permissions. So let's see what things look like now from her point of view. I'll switch back to her account in my other browser and reload the page. You see several changes. We have the toolbar up here. We have the shortcut bar, which just says Add Content because she can only do that. She can't see all content, so the Find Content button is gone. And we can see the feeds over here. There are quite a few changes, and if I were to give her additional permissions, they would show up in the toolbar. Now, as it turns out, there's not much there, so we could take it away, but let's leave it for now. You know, I think I refer to this video more than any other in the course, because you'll find yourself constantly adjusting permissions while setting up a Drupal site, and then again as you add and remove functionality throughout its life. I know that permissions page is really a lot to take in, but take heart. After a while, you really get to know it well, and you'll quickly feel confident with Drupal systems of permissions.